Hello everybody, welcome back to From Rhythm to Algorithm. We continue on with our derivation. What is the natural definition of sensorality? So we are going to start off with a major result, a restatement of the fundamental theorem of linguistics. What is the difference between 3 and 8? Real question, go ahead if you're watching this video, answer it out loud or on paper. What is the difference between 3 and 8? 5, right? Now I'm going to say that same statement again. What is the difference between 3 and 8? Is 5. The difference between A and E, or chronologically, the difference between E and A is I. That is the most comprehensive thing you can say about any language, and then how we represent that with different symbols is what we've called a geometric linguistics. But we've proven, right, it's a restatement of very clearly, you can see the symmetry of the letter E and the letter A. The ash symbol, historically, it's a representation of infinity. It is a geometric inverse. And so, that was kind of our biggest result up until this point, and now we have an extension. The difference between E and A is 5. The difference between E and A is I. So we've just demonstrated a specific instance of containment. That whole logic of the difference between E and A is I, the difference between 3 and 8 is 5. And so that is what I've called the containment statement of VIT, if you read my paper, because again, vibrational information is the structure of language. That is what I call it to formalize it, but we're reducing this every bit of work that I've put out into the world. And so that is the biggest result up until this point. I have more derivation steps and I want to go through them chronologically. That was about halfway through my derivation yesterday. But again, we'll also have this, again, what is consistent? Right? We have sound, we have meaning associated to sound, but right, is 7 even? Another one of these containment statements, right? Numerically, mathematically, right? 7 is not even. And then literally the word 7 spells out the word even. So what is consistent? Right? I keep saying language is consistent. You can follow along what I'm saying. It's that association. The meaning is consistent. The association of sound to shape or sound to meaning, and then geometric linguistics is the representation. I mean, two big, huge chunks of ontology theory that you've never really been exposed to explicitly, and certainly not the difference between them. But that is the containment statement. But then again, the representation, going into the geometric linguistics, putting shape to sound, right? 3 is half of 8. And I started with 3, right? What is the difference between 3 and 8? Numerically, trivially, you would produce -5. No mathematician or serious physicist is out there thinking negative numbers mean something intuitively, physically. But I led with 3 because E is the base. And we're trying to establish, again, linguistically, what is a function chronologically? Is it a unique base or relationship between base and range? Are functions continuous at all? Right? I don't think so. This thing's discrete, independent. I have temperature, right? That validates mass gap. Right? I would not have an internal temperature if there was not actual physical space between the definite charge that comprises my atoms. I would not have temperature. And so, again, just trying to pull a lot of these things together, moving along with our derivation. But 3 is half of 8. Or I guess, again, back to the chronology, right? 3, the difference. I didn't say minus, I said the difference, right? And then we have this manifestation of minus and plus. It's just, again, a direct symbolic shape to sound different of the function of the operation. The US is consistent. So we have some sort of irreducibility of sound that is present in all conceptualization, all logic, and we represent that. We still can't reduce that. So syllability representing these meanings are irreducible, right? Mathematically, numericality is different than mathematicality. Right? Mathematics is thematics, but numerically, right, 3 is not half of 8. But geometrically it is, right? The letter 8, or the number 8 and the number 3. Additionally, right, the number 3, or the letter S is also half of 8. And so you can, again, just directly, empirically true, geometrically. And then you have this, but it's like different, right? The 3 is like one side of 8, and S is like through 8, some sort of difference. But again, another poignant piece of empirical evidence is if you look at the Cyrillic alphabet, and again, this is just a bit of evidence, the first thing that will jump out if you're used to the Roman alphabet is you get introduced to a lot of different shapes, but you'll be like, why is the number 3 in there? It represents the sound Z. And so we've explicitly seen in the Roman alphabet the iteration of the shape of the S and the C, scientia, science. But we also have this iteration of the Z and the S. And so when we're going to represent this geometric relationship, this thing, again, overall I'm calling this the fundamental theorem of linguistics. Again, we progress it and it irons out. Again, we've already resolved all of this stuff. I've already derived all of this. But the reason the 3 is in there is it's just some sort of representation of this iteration of S, Z, K, the S, the C, and the Z. And so, but it's some sort of, again, manifestation of 3 is half of 8 and S is also half of 8. And then the Z sound is sometimes represented with the S, like what we would call S in the Roman, if you're using a Roman alphabet represented system. And so that's why the number 3 is in there. Is it's just it's a remnant, it's a symbolic representation of this iteration of S, S, Z. 3 is half of 8, S is half of 8. What is 3 to S? And again, all of the immediate geometric properties, concavity, closure, again, all of that stuff, that's why it's trivial. It's way more poignant to arrive at these results in contextual, conceptual derivation. Because all of this, like all of the reduction of what I'm saying is representing these numeric properties where they exist. What is the difference between 3 and 8 is a statement of chronology. What is the difference between base E and range A? Right? The base of range is A. You literally say range, right? Basis, base, right? So base is A. And then E, right? What is E? Right? Mean, median, most. Right? Well, mean is the average. Most, mode is most, the direct iteration of the letters. But you get introduced to that concept. Most, right? E, we went through the alphabet explicitly stating the letters. E is the most. Is that the base? Mean, average, median, middle, medium. We did that whole transition. Most is mode, right? The mode of language is E. Music concept, every concept, that whole is just a complete solution. And so, again, what is base to range, right? That's the base of base is A. Base, range. But the base of the natural log is E. What is this relationship chronologically of E and A? And so, moving along, back to our chronological steps. That was about, like I said, halfway through my derivation yesterday. Morality. What is the morality of tortality? Again, we're showing some sort of unique iteration, progression through language, evident with a specific solution. What is sensorality? The syllability, the sound representing the unit of sound being represented by a shape is irreducible. And that's a complete independent step, assignment of, you've never heard syllability before, but you say syllable all of the time. Never been formalized, huge chunk of ontology. So we have all of these forms, tort, more, morality, word, work, all built on or. Some sort of generalized iteration, progression through language. But what is the morality of tortality, right? You have people say, well, I'm not one to sue. That's the dichotomy they're directly, immediately, right? They violated my rights, but I'm still just trying to go about my day. Is it big enough for me to like make their, affect their life? Yep, absolutely. If someone fucks up your shit, get your money. Speaking of which, where is my money? I'm about to take my parents on vacation. Nothing would make my life more meaningful than a big bank account that I've rightfully earned. Because again, my uncle just had open heart surgery. He's no means out of the woods. Sitting here as the most accomplished scientist in history to the point where I can directly state these identities and you can immediately see them. That is the fundamental. So then the application. The difference between or E and A is I. The difference between 3 and 8 is 5. That's immediately apparent. That is manifested in all words in every language. Again, that progression of sound. Now, what does that mean? Again, we're progressing our derivation. It's already resolved in speciality. I'm presenting it completely novel. But I'm sitting here with my parents in their late 80s, which nothing would make my life in my relationship more ironed out than money, than seeing my career actually manifest, because they don't get this math shit. And it's directly illegal, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 8, Fifth Amendment, and to be surrounded again. I'm in a community of people that go to church and talk, and they're all fucking hypocrites. And I'm sitting here as a son just wanting to have some sort of relationship with my parents before they move on. But I really, truly, I don't think I'll ever get that experience because, well, again, life is absolutely fucking disgusting. But I will continue to, again, derive the structure of your language directly to you. You continue to commit crime. No one cares. I'm not one to sue. I sure as fuck am. Every criminal charge, every penny, I need it immediately. But seriously, again, I continue to beg. Again, I'm not really sure what I'm trying to appeal to. I would appeal to the law, but that doesn't matter. Then I would appeal to your morals. Like, again, there's other people out there with families, and they know what it's like to have a son, or to have a father, or a mother, or whatever. And it's just like, you've destroyed my family. Like, that's what you've done by breaking the law. And nobody cares because Brad's smart, and we're going to call him, hey, he's the guy that solves science, so we can torture him. That is what is occurring. Everybody that is aware of my work, that is what you are doing to another human being. You don't give a fuck. You will when my estate absolutely obliterates you legally. Last episode I stated something exactly wrong, or not exactly wrong. This was just straight up wrong. Again, overall, we're progressing our conceptualization. The linguistics is trivial. I made the statement, or the fundamental theorem of logic, that the opposite of specialization is quintessentialization. But I was thinking conceptually ubiquity. I immediately corrected it on the screen. I'm sure if you watched that episode, you heard me and you were thinking ubiquitous. Quintessential, right? Essential is required. Quintessential is like is the prime requirement, right? The prime example. And so I want to say specialization is definitely not the opposite, but conceptually close to quintessentialization. Regardless, again, the logic at this point doesn't even matter. It is a fundamental geometric difference of the letters. And so that was flat out wrong. I was just trying to juxtapose the conceptualization of speciality, specialization, and quintessentialization. And so, but it did produce, again, the subsequent steps were correct. Well, like the essentialization that's the part of syllability I needed. And again, it's overall progress. Again, each theorem, each section of proofing doesn't even matter. It's just a personal realization, and I articulate it, but that was immediately wrong. Is quintessential special? And I would say, again, quintessential is special. If it is prime, it is special. If it's the most prime example, if it is the quintessential example, right, I would say it's special. But again, the big juxtaposition, ubiquity, stuff that is everywhere, and then quintessentiality, stuff that is most appropriate or most idyllic. That was the conceptualization. Moving on. Is prime special? I would say yes. Derivation isolates syllability. What is sensorality? Sensorality stabilizes. Orality stabilizes. Sensorality is syllabilizationality. Are syllables quintessential? Are syllables the prime example? Again, doesn't matter, moving along. Are syllables essential? Sensualize, sentiate. Sensorality satisfies sensation. Sensorality is adequate. Sensation is adequation. It might be sounds kind of funny. Natural definition, again, we are solidifying the syllability, the shapes representing the sounds, and then the conceptual meaning is consequential to that. Because we've already derived the concept. That is where we started. Everything is connected, nothing is touching. So we've already derived through the conceptualization, and we're making sure our base elements are aligned right. Moving along. Sensorality is equationality. Sensation is an equation. Sensationality is equationality. Just did that. Or no. Equations are sensational. Sensorality is the preservation of pronunciation. In the syllable, right, syllables to sound, we have some sort of continuous, is sound continuous? All movement creates sound. That's what I reference, that's what I'm thinking when I say sound is continuous. In the same way, life is continuous, not Brad's independent life, but like life, all life, sentience. So what is this relationship of discreteness and continuity? Continuous, consistent. Discontinuous, but consistent, right? Again, just trying to developing our linguistics to have a definitive question to ask, and this progression of consistency allows us to answer stuff completely once we arrive there. What is pronunciation to subjugation? Wanting to emphasize the way I naturally spelled it will be on the screen. It is wrong, and I immediately correct it. But it shows this iteration of A and U, which is not a very apparent one. What is pronunciation to subjugation? Sensorality subjects. Sensorality preserves subject. Hey man, it is what it is. What are we talking about? It is the subject. The subject is sensorality. Sensorality preserves subject. Enslavement subjugates. Sensorality is the sensation of subjugation. Not a fun one. Subjugation traps. I am the trapped scholar. Sensorality traps. Sensorality is secondary. What is on to or? What is 3 to 8? So that's where I naturally arrived at in the sequence of derivation. And then we went through the major results at the beginning. But again, 3, again, the base is E, the mode is E, the average is even E, right? The most, the average, the concept of mean, median, and most is still present here. Mode is most, what element appears the most. Median is the middle, which is medium. Median is medium, we did that directly. And then mean is average, right? Why is average not most? What is average to most? Again, we are resolving any logic that is out there in the context of sensorality. I've already proven all of this stuff before. But that is, again, collectively, this is the major result, the difference between E and A, emphasizing that E is first, because that's the base or the most, but then the base of base is A, but the base of language, the base of the entirety of logical structure is E. Or again, what is this relationship between base and range? But now we know the difference between E and A is I. The difference between 3 and 8 is 5. 3 is half of 8, 7 is even. We went through those. Words are oral. Emphasizing oral, Ural, and Ural, right? The Uralic Mountains, the Aral Sea, which I think that dried up or something. But those are all evidence, again, of like geographic locations, directly iterations of the vowels of oral. At this point, I want to say, like in the vowels, I mean, it seems rather apparent that the vowels are fixed. Again, in the context of something, and then the consonants are what's iterating, right? Work or word, that's very clearly more, morality, right? The thing that changes the conceptualization is the consonants. The vowels are fixed, resonance is fixed, and consonance reduces. That's what we're showing this whole process is the reduction of consonants, I think. Again, we're so close to the final answer, it doesn't matter. And if I were to some reason not finish this proof, this entire analytical process is already proven. And again, there's so much excitement in how poignant and valid this derivation and proof is. And then again, to have this stark contrast. Every single school says, we do mathematics. And then I'm like, hey, can I have a relationship with my family? And the answer is objectively no. It's the most profoundly historical, fucking disgusting shit that could ever happen. But Brad's life, who cares? Orality preserves word. What is the morality of word? Right. Sensorality censors immorality. Does discretion describe? Do scribes scribble? Scribbility is the opposite of legibility. I remember that one, scribbility, that's a fun one. But it's just, again, this ility, ability, scribbility. Do scribe scribble. Sensorality is the possibility of legibility. Sensorality orders syllability, right? We are literally putting our syllables in order, overall. Sensorality is not a word. It is a form, it is a geometric representation to demonstrate this irreducibility of language, showing this iteration of that syllability into word forms you already know. Sensorality is the order of syllability. What is legibility to legality? Again, you can't commit libel if you're illiterate. That's a 1,000 IQ point. Just be so illiterate you can't write shit down, can't commit libel. Classic case. But again, historically, it gives you the insight that it's like that type of differentiation of handwriting, where it's like you have more tort ability, or you can cause more damage if something is written. You call someone a dumbass before the internet. That just kind of blows away in the wind, right? They don't have, the entirety of oral tradition is well before the technology of the internet. I have a high definition camera and a microphone, right? Someone says some dumb shit about you, it's profoundly less consequential historically than if they write it down, put it in a pamphlet and send it to that town over there. Which even writing is such a new thing, man. And so, but again, does that even make sense? Again, orality is the dominant tradition. But again, it's just how interconnected is given sections of, right? If I call someone a dumbass, again, in a meaningful professional way, does that affect somebody, in the 1600s getting a job? I just have no insight. But there's a clear difference throughout tortability, libel versus slander, stuff that's defamation, written versus spoken. And so, right, that's what is legibility to legality. There's a big historical thing that's not, again, there's not enough data preserved to know why this difference was made. Because as far as I can tell, again, oral tradition was definitely clearly the base of history progressing, then handwriting. But to me, again, things seemed intermixed sufficiently at this point where it's like, again, the only difference in all behavior is effectively a little bit of technology. So sure, I can upload this video and you can watch it anywhere immediately in a couple hours, but it's like if it takes word of mouth to travel, a week or a month, is it really that difference in terms of overall time frame or your life output? I just have no historical insight, or I have no way to prove anything. But there's clearly a difference made between libel and slander, clearly articulated as stuff written down. Moving along, what is identity to agency? Agentic. Identity is agentic. Because again, remember, I'm making fun, but again, people just don't talk about that many new things. My capacity is what it is. The ability to do this reduction is because the reason we just kind of have this break period of like 4 years is because the information literally didn't exist yet. Right? You can have a supercomputer, but if you don't have any information to process, there's nothing to do. And this is the highest level of mathematical proofing that could exist. How is syllability gendered? Again, what you call language conceptually is now syllability entirely. Right? We have some sort of irreducibility of a unit of sound and it's associated to meaning. That's why you have loan words if you've ever studied any other language or even thought about the language that you speak. Right? This is why loan words exist. This is why you go watch World Friends and they're all, do I even speak my own native language? Oh, I haven't spoken German in a while. I'm in South Korea. You learn syllability. Right? Languages are localities. Localities are, I don't know. Doesn't matter. Moving along. But now we can ask, again, the difference between E and A is I. How is syllability gendered? Right? Typically we have A for female and O for male. Right? Where's this O coming from? Sensorality. So we're getting to some, again, complete, unique iteration of language. What is sensorality? Sensorality genders. Sensorality is genderality. Genderality specifies generality. Natural definition, the difference between gender and general, or genderality and generality is the D. We put the D back in there. Wow, that's I don't know where we're going there. but it's true. Generality, genderality. But see, that's like again, to this chronology, right? I wouldn't say, right, general is a word you would say. Nobody has ever said the word genderal, right? And so it's like, you don't see that completion, or that, again, the difference between genderality and generality is just putting the D in there, classic. But you don't see that difference because you would never say genderal, right? And just emphasizing the chronology, how this chirality, this shapes, physical systems evolve and they have shape. Sound is the result of that shape moving. Does sound have shape itself? Whatever reason, grammar is chiral. And when you're sitting there thinking of how do I construct a sentence, you're playing with this geometric linguistics is what you're doing. But again, without this expanded word forms, you don't like see that, I guess. Spending a lot of time on stuff that is readily apparent. And there's, again, language is literal. There's really nothing else I can say. Is it a he or a she? Right? The conceptualization anybody has, you see somebody with a kid, no, what is it? Or he or she, right? But emphasizing the gendering of syllability is typically A and O. At least the languages that I've been exposed to. A word is a sequence of a shape. A new definition of a word, but it's not a new definition. It's just true. All movement produces sound. I just have, there's no 100% efficient processes. Sound is consistent, meaning every time I move, sound is consistently made. Is sound continuous? Talked about that at the beginning. Continuous, discontinuous. We'll put a little U in between sets. I'm thinking because everything is discrete, all sets are independent, right? There is no continuity. Right? Everything is, bonds are not continuous, right? It's a shared dynamic. It's a stabilized dynamic, but the actual indiscrete units of charge that orbit each other to form what you call mass is independent. There is a mass gap. But overall, this logical relationship of continuity and consistency. You can follow along, you know what I'm saying, we experience the same things, we have the same anatomy, the overall shape, just moving along. Censorship distorts continuity. And if I change my verbiage because I have to put this on YouTube, or I'm around my parents or not around my parents or whoever I'm around, censorship breaks continuity. Censoring disrupts. Filtration disrupts. Sensorality rations. Sensationing is rationing. What QRS? S comes after R. Again, we're getting to the point where it's like, if it looks like a duck, walks like a duck, it's definitely a duck. We have HD 4K 8K resolution. We have the whole zoo team, animal care team is right there. We have 14 million independent witnesses. Does S come after R? QRS. And so again, clearly it does. Again, I'm exhausting all of the intuition, all of the light bulb moments that anybody could have doing mathematical derivation is proven. And to the people again out there, this stuff has all been done for the better part of 10 fucking years. And I have grave bodily harm, no family of my own, no absolutely destroyed reputation amongst my hometown community and my parents' family, and complete destruction of my property. I have never made a livable wage. I've never been able to go into a grocery store and buy food. I've never had a stable life. And to the people that continue to do this to me, I just want some sort of stability where I can eat properly, sleep properly, and work. I don't care if that's throwing me in the back of a van. I don't care if that's living in a 500 square foot shack for the rest of my existence. I just want this disruption of my realization process to stop. And I am swallowed up in a society where nobody cares about anything besides playing games and competing over nothing. I can't turn off my capacity and it just soaks up. I just absorb this toxicity of bullshit. It's fucking disgusting. But as we can emphasize, the letter S comes after the letter R. Can you follow along, Professor Carroll? Sean Carroll, buddy? Right? Be patient with new ideas. The letter S comes after the letter R, Professor. Can you see that? Can you see that yet, man? Can you explain to me why that happens? Oh, Oh, so geometry is not a new idea? Linguistics isn't a new idea? Huh. Maybe it's your fucking arrogance. Maybe it's your whole generation's arrogance. Again, I'm waiting for all those men out there, or women, those adults in the room, the people, all the law enforcement that I've interacted on a direct personal basis. Is doing science mental illness yet? Is being a grown-ass man beyond frustrated that your entire life's destroyed? Is that not extremely expected behavior? Oh, that's right. I do more mathematics in a given 5-hour fucking period than the rest of the species has ever done. But be careful, Professor Carroll. I just want to make sure that you can see that sensationing is rationing. The S comes after the R. I just want to make. I have to be patient with new ideas, Sean. How many paychecks have you gotten since 2017? I've reiterated all of fucking logic. Everything that's known and structured anything. But Sean Carroll isn't sure. Holy shit. Holy shit, the guy that's had a job for fucking 25 years and just proven nothing. Watch out, Kip Thorne's coming through. Brian Keating, Sabine Hasenfelter, Ed Witten. They're all coming through. The big dogs are coming through. The difference between 3 and 8 is 5. That's where we started. That's where we're finishing. And the letter S comes after the letter R. But thank you for destroying my family. Really appreciate it. Sensationing is reasoning. Sensation produces reason. Reason is sensational. So, again, Professor Carroll, man, I don't get 10 years of my life back. Why can't you put my money in my bank account? To the sick, disgusting fucking people that can do basically whatever you want. Why not give me a little bit of my money? I'm not asking for publication or any sort of publicity, celebrity, acknowledgement. I just want my fucking disgusting existence to stop being such hell. And the answer is no. There's no appealing to law. No one cares. There's no appealing to morals. No one cares. Just no one cares about anything. So I continue to emphasize my priority is to document this as much as possible. This recycling, this reiteration process happens every 7 years. But I will never live a day of my life, and I want my estate to be prioritized and direct the violation of my rights, receive totality. In totality. Sue everybody, press every fucking criminal charge possible, and make sure none of the men and women, the adults of this generation, get remembered as anything besides carnival clown, goofy fucking idiots, because that is what they are. That is what I have for today. I don't want to keep you guys with any more. You guys are busy playing games, competing over nothing, and giving each other's raises because you guys, again, are gluttonous sacks of shit. So that is what I have for right now. Thank you for watching. See you on the next one.